Hi, everyone. I wanted to go over the evidence log sharing assignment with you. So let me start there. All right. So here we are in week two, evidence EL sharing. EL stands for evidence log sharing. Let's click on that. And the link for the video will obviously be up here for you to click on. But background, um, we have been programmed with this idea that we can do stuff on our own. If we just have the willpower, we'll be able to accomplish anything. And I just want to point out that this is almost entirely not true. And if you really want evidence of it, there's a couple different things. I have this information about Bill Gates here, who he didn't go to school, college, so he could do it on his own. No, he did not. In fact, his school seriously helped him out. His mom helped him out. His mom's friends, his classmates, parents helped him out. He got a lot of support along the way. And really, there's a saying that a lot of y'all have already heard before. As far as success, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if that's the rule, it's not what you know, it's who you know, then that means that it is not based upon your willpower or your skills or anything like that. It's actually based on your ability to work with others. That is where success primarily comes from, is your ability to work and utilize others. So we're going to actually dabble in that a little bit today. The intent of this assignment is to collaborate, of course, gather new insight and new resources, basically have a conversation with a couple of your classmates, and then gather resources to write factually based texts, meaning what we're writing is going to be data driven, um, not just your opinions and stuff like that. Uh, I know the impeachment just happened or finished. I'm a little sad by it. But one of the interesting things during the closing arguments that I saw for Trump's lawyers were they were looking at the timeline, the time stamps on some of the tweets and phone calls and stuff that were happening. And one of Trump's lawyers flat out said, I do not believe in those facts. Fact means that it's true. And he basically said it's true, but I don't agree with them. Um, if you have the wealth, if you have the power, you can ignore facts. But if you don't have those things, then it's who you know, which will get you the power, which allows you to ignore facts. Right now, we have to work with them. Surface, the things that I want to be able to see from you um, are your ability to listen to others. In an online class, basically, that's reading what other people post, build on ideas, and gather and organize important information. So, like we did with the icebreaker, where you posted something where it's a thing that you liked, an example of it, and why you liked it, we're kind of doing the same thing, only we're doing this with quotes. To show your ability to show your ability, please do the following steps, and it goes through it. First step, go over your evidence log, looking at the quotes that you already understood or you thought were really important. Um, Here is my evidence log. And I want to point out, some of y'all keep leaving stuff up here and don't save your own stuff. You might lose your homework if you keep doing this. So please don't do this. But there's a couple on here that I'm going to steal from, which is great. Where'd it go? Number two, select the quote that you think is the most important. So let me hop onto here. And I really liked this one. I only have three, a choice of three really on here. So there's not much, but yours is supposed to have a lot more. So you're going to go through your notes. High achieving students from low income families who desperately want to earn a 4-year degree, but who run into trouble along the way. I like that quote, so I'm going to take that, copy it, click on reply. There we go. So I have the quote, but I also want, so it says for step 3, copy and paste your quote and interpretation into the discussion. The reason why I selected this quote, actually it says for step 2, select the quote you think is most important. So I think this quote of the 3 that I have is the most important, mainly because, and let me go back to the evidence log. I think that it's the most important mainly because it sets up the kinds of students that are failing. This first quote, and I saw a bunch of others when I erased this one, I saw a bunch of others where they were talking about like how Vanessa's mom was talking to her and stuff. A lot of quotes about Vanessa. Vanessa is not the article. Remember that. She is not the point. If you start writing about Vanessa, you are going to miss so much because she's not important. And I left this up here because, again, this isn't even about Vanessa. This is about Vanessa's mom. Is the article about Vanessa's mom? No. So that's not important. Cut it. I'm picking this one because it's about how high achieving and students from low income families. It's very specific about who the kinds of students that it's talking about. And then I have this one. If you want to help low income students succeed, it's not enough to deal with their financial obstacles. You have to also deal with their doubts, misconceptions, and fears. That's a pretty good one. I could pick that one too if I wanted to. I'm just going to pick on the earlier one because it names the kinds of students. We don't prevent you from experiencing these bad things. Instead, and this is a solution, Jaeger explained, instead we try to change the meaning of them so they don't mean. And I'll show you what we're going to do with this one in a little bit. But this is the one that I'm going with, right? I like this one. So I copied that and I paste it in the response right there, or in the reply there, right? And it should be like this, in parentheses, tough. And the reason for that is we're going to be doing MLA citing, and that's how it has it. If you have the dash, you're telling the reader that his name is really important. If you have the parentheses, you're telling the reader, hey, if you need it, it's here. If you don't, ignore it. If you don't need it, ignore it. So yeah, okay. Step 3, copy and paste your quote and interpretation. I just did the quote here. We also need the interpretation. So let me go back. And I have the interpretation right here. I remember doing this quote with y'all with one of my classes before. I think somebody took it and jacked up my interpretation, but that's okay. In other words, low-income students are as intelligent as privileged income students. Privileged income students are really weird. Just say privileged students. I know everybody has different forms of privileges, or most people have different forms of privileges. But yeah, what's interesting, what I find students have an issue with describing what people who are well off are. We could easily say low income students, but then the opposite is high income students, which is, it doesn't feel right. So privileged students, it works. High income students works. Students with money, students with family, students whose families have money, that works too. We're not going to be writing about them, so it's fine. Students, low-income students are as intelligent as privileged students, but something about school makes them feel uncomfortable and causes them to look for a reason to drop out. This is key. Whoever was fiddling around with our evidence log had cut out this last bit, right? But whatchamacallit, these students really want to graduate, they want their degree, but they run into trouble along the way and they quit. That's really what this quote is saying. And I think that that's important. And so you post that. Boom, it's right there. And then let's see here. Step 4, read your classmates' quote and interpretation they have posted in the discussion. So I have that. I'm going to reply to it. You're going to reply to a classmate's, not your own, right? Figure out if your classmate's quote is pointing to why students fail or a way schools can help students succeed. In this case, this is definitely about the problem. This is why students are failing. Review your notes again and look for a quote that either adds more detail to your classmate's quote or complements it. By that, I mean, in this case, does it solve the problem, or does it point out that, like, so if the quote is about a solution, can you point out the problem that, you know, the kinds of students that that solution would help? All right, so I need to find a quote that connects. So I have the high achieving students. I like this one. That's why I kept it. That one's pretty good. But then there's also this one here, which is nice. We don't prevent you from experiencing those bad things. So those things that trip you up, instead we try to change the meaning of them so they don't mean as much for you. I think I'm gonna go with that one. Mainly because like it's so far down into the article. So I'm gonna go with that one. I was gonna go with the other one, but I'm going with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit reply and paste that. And again, make sure we're doing the whole MLA thing. The period goes after the parentheses, not after the quote or before the quote. What he is trying to say is, okay, so respond to your classmate with the quote you found. Change the interpretation to explain how it connects or adds to your classmate's quote. So the first quote that I picked was about high achieving students from low income families run into trouble along the way. What he is trying to say, and I should put what Jaeger is trying to say is the trouble students, low-income students run into in college is actually not as big as they think. So a solution is to change how students see that problem as something a lot smaller than they think. There we go. I changed the interpretation because the interpretation had nothing to do with the idea about a problem. In fact, their alignment, whoever this was, their alignment was slightly off. So this interpretation didn't work at all. So let me delete that. Okay. And then there we go. That's how you do it. You're going to read your class, you're going to post something, then you're going to read a bunch of classmates, and you're going to respond to at least one of them for this time. You're going to be doing 2 throughout the semester, 1 just to get used to it, and then 2 throughout the semester for full credit. Yeah, hopefully you don't have any questions, but this is pretty straightforward. It's helping each other out, so help each other out. And we'll be using both of these quotes. If you have more, great, but it will be using both of these, your quote and your classmate's quote, for our next assignment after this. All right, see you later. Bye.